We'll start with viewer questions. None of your business asks, what was the first thing used to smoke through?
The oldest thing that they have found that they can say that was used is called a brazier, or it's like a little incense burner. It was made out of wood, so they would put hot rocks in it and then put herbs on top of that, and it was like a little incense burner. And they found two of them in the mountains, Central Asia, between like Russia and China, kind of in that area. They found a couple of different graves in this area where they found these burners in the grave site. So they were burning these incenses in the grave, and they determined they have both cannabis and opium found in these burners.
Nice. I know opium was really big back in the day.
Well, it's a strong medicine, and people were trying all the plants around them, trying to see what was edible, what's not edible, There's so many, this is humanity. This is how we evolved into where we are now, is by trial and error.
Yeah.
Finding out what kinds of plants, that's where the medicine all comes from. All the medicine's out there.
All right. Sheba 420 asks, do you know what the first official name strain was or called, or was it just like something that was popular first that caught on as in a name, like in Jack Hare or something that they just, was it that Americana maybe?
I might say that Americana, yeah. So I'll tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis sativa was already here. It was introduced in 1605 by the Pilgrims, and they were growing hemp. And in the 1850s, cannabis indica was discovered in India, and that medicine was brought throughout Europe and then into America in about the 1850s. Everybody grew hemp. It was really common garden plant. People would grow it as a crop. People were making money from it because people needed ropes. There was all kinds of hemp growing around on different levels in every community around America. And then they introduced the cannabis indica, and that was a medicinal cannabis, and that was only not being grown widely. That was only being grown by the doctors, pharmacists, people who were making medicines, plant medicines. Eventually, it took about 20 years before they crossed and hybridized, and the cannabis indica was no longer as potent as it had been, and it was no longer a reliable medicine, so it wasn't working as well. And the other alternative was opium, and that was problematic. Although it was a strong medicine, it was too strong, and it was caused the real first opioid epidemic.
Yeah.
So after Eli Lilly and Park Davis and Company made a strain of cannabis where they tried to tease the cannabis sativa out from what was left over from the cannabis indica, and they called it Cannabis Americana. And yes, we would say that would be the first strain that somebody made and called it something different.
Yeah, because they have so many crazy names nowadays.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would also say that when I was younger, the first kinds of cannabis the first weed strains there was like Shiva skunk, super skunk, early pearl, silver haze, northern lights. No, I know I'm missing somebody out there, but these were strains that I was talking to my boss about it one day, and I was like, oh yeah, he had these old seeds. And I said, these were all the same strains that I started growing when I first started growing weed. He said, yeah, because that's all the strains there were back then. But You know, a lot of it was just being developed from landrace strains that were people in the 70s were starting to go exploring around. They wanted to see what kinds of weed was out there in the world, and they were traveling around the world getting new strains, and then bringing them back here and growing them here. That's what the Cornbread Mafia is all about. Familiar?
Heard of them.
Okay, well,
I don't know about them.
yeah, well,
I do. I have heard of them.
look into it. That's a whole, yes, that's a cannabis story worth looking into.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Huh. Cornbread Mafia.
Yeah, they were out of Kentucky. Just it's a great story.
All right.
Check it out.
See, that's why you guys should get your questions in. How was that for an answer?
Sorry.
No, that was very, very informative. Awesome.
If you'd love to go to the Cannabis Museum but just can't make that trip, but you'd still like to contribute, you can make an online donation. They also accept donated cannabis artifacts for the museum to display.